Hello, BookTube. This is me ranking the novels of Thomas Hardy himself. I've been reading Hardy since I was a teen. I first read I read Tess of the D'Urvilles when I was like 15, and I didn't really like it, and so I went a long period without reading him. But then last year, I decided to read do all of his novels chronologically. I'd done them like once, like one every weekend, and it was a very joyful experience because I feel like Hardy is really interesting as an author, and he's never my favorite, but he's kind of like Dickens, where I've read so much of him that even though he's not a favorite, he lives a rent free in my mind. And Hardy's really one of those authors for me. And it's funny to see Hardy the way he starts off in his career, more of sensation novels, and kind of moves into genuine romance novels, which I find really interesting. And then makes some of the worst novels of the Victorian era, but we'll get to that. And Hardy as an author has, again, never been my favorite. I feel like he's a great writer, like prose level wise, but as a novelist, when it comes to structuring his novels, I think the endings are always a bit rushed. He loves his melodrama, and I think even for the Victorians, his stuff's very melodramatic, and also his character motives and just his characters are very just not my cup of tea. I think they're a bit too really unhinged in certain ways, but we'll get to that later. And I feel like there's a lot of barriers to Hardy, and I'm only going to be ranking the novels today. If I was going to say my favorite Hardy stuff, I love his poetry. He was a great writer of poetry. I don't own any of his poetry. I know I'm shocked by that, but I also know he wrote short stories, and I need to hunt those down because I would love to see how he wrote short stories. But we're sticking to the 14 novels, and there are some hot takes I think in here, but it's fun. Hardy is at the end of the day a really fun author. So I'm gonna group these because when you look at his oeuvre, it kind of what's it called, moves in different eras, and he tries different styles. So we're gonna really see them blocked together. So number 14 to number 12. My least favorite Hardy is Jude the Obscure. Number 13 is The Well Beloved. And number 12 is Tess. Now, The Well Beloved, I can't even remember it. It was so boring and so dull. And there's a reason why no one talks about it anymore. But Jude and Tess are some of my least favorite Victorian books ever for me because Hardy got so dour and he loved his tragedy, and I never understood how people really like it because I think his writing kind of really dropped off to a certain extent with his prose. And I feel like because he does everything so heavy-handed. When he's doing tragedy on top of tragedy on top of tragedy, it really doesn't give you space to get fully rounded characters because all you know about them is that they're going through hardship. And especially in Tess, I feel like it's so heavy-handed. And Jude the Obscure just does. I don't care. I'm not angsty enough to like it. But so those are my last three. I don't like them at all. And so I know it's a bit controversial because it shocks me that Tess is genuinely his most popular book. Like, because I feel like it doesn't represent Hardy compared to like a Return of a Native or Far from the Madding Crowd, or even like a Desperate Remedies. I could see that more being a representative Hardy than Tess, which really represents like the last three novels he wrote before he gave up on novel writing. And I kind of wish, oh, it's going to sound mean, but I kind of wish we had less novels and more poetry because that was really what he was lovely at. But, we got what we got. And so, anyway, those are my last three. Then, number 11 to 9 is Under the Greenwood Tree, A Pair of Blue Eyes, and Desperate Remedies. Now, these are Hardy's first three novels. And this is Hardy doing sensation novels, a bit more like a mystery flair. He was kind of really being a Wilkie Collins. And I feel like Hardy really doesn't do much for me when it comes to sensation novelists. I feel like, because they were early in his career, and I feel like he hadn't developed like the Hardy isms really yet, especially in Desperate Remedies. I feel like it takes a while for it to kick in, but I would say I found Desperate Remedies a really good read for a mid-tier Victorian book. But A Pair of Blue Eyes and Under the Green Tree, despite the fact that their literary kind of importance for the Victorians in terms of being early mysteries and one of the first like open-ended mystery novels probably. Outside of that, they're completely forgettable for me, and there's a reason they're kind of not really talked about. Besides, I think Desperate Remedies people still talk about and like, but those are my next three. But number eight, we have I can't say this, a Laodicean, I can't say it. Forgettable for me. It's better than the last couple, but besides the fact it has plots with telegrams and fake photographs, it's a forgettable Hardy book for me, really. And number seven, we have the Mayor of Casterbridge, and this is a bit of a different Hardy novel. It's a bit more mature. Like it's not it's not a romance book because my favorite Hardy books are genuinely romance books, and I feel like he isn't really talked about as a romance writer, but we'll get to that later. And the Mayor of Casterbridge evolves a different plot for Hardy. It's a bit more what you think of a Victorian novel to be in terms of like a morals and all that stuff, but I thought it was fine. I liked it. Number six, The Hand of Elberta. Now, this is just a fun Victorian novel. It has disguises, it has everything you want in a wacky Victorian novel. It's perfectly paced for a Hardy book, and I feel like it's not too long. One of the great things about Hardy is that he is, I think, a very accessible Victorian author because his novels aren't that long, and I feel like that's what really people really like about him is that he wasn't doing 800-page books, and I do appreciate that because I can't imagine Hardy doing a book that long because I don't think he could. But anyway, Hand of Elberta, that's really fun. Pick it up if you haven't. Number five, we have a historical novel from Hardy. This is a bit more of a romance, but this is The Trumpet Major. It's perfect. It's a really good novel. It's really strong from Hardy. Great writing. Pick it up if you haven't. Then my top four. Now this is my favorites. I would, if I was on a desert island and I had to take a stash of Hardy, I would take these. I would take, and I'm gonna lump them in together. So number four, we have Two on a Tower. Then number three, we have The Woodlanders. Number two, we have Return of the Native. And number one is Far from the Madding Crowd for me. Now, I love these novels because this is genuinely romance. The Two on a Tower, I think, is his most underrated book. It's a bit more of a the fact that it's like astrological, like they're studying the sky and all that. I think it's really lovely, and it's a bit more of like a forbidden love kind of romance than the other ones. I love The Woodlanders. For me, the top three, The Woodlanders, Return the Native, and Far from the Madding Crowd, have some of his best writing. The opening for Return of the Native is just genuinely, when Hardy describes nature, take my money. It is genuinely amazing. And what stops these from becoming some of my all-time favorite Victorian novels, where it like compared to like an Eliot or Trollope, is that his characters kind of let me down. I like Gabriel Oak from Far from the Madding Crowd, but I feel like everyone else is just not for me. They're a bit too characteristic, and I feel like they're just not for me. But I love the writing in all of them. Far from the Madding Crowd's like a love triangle. Return of the Native's iconic, and those are my favorite Hardys. I know I'm not really going into detail of these because it has been a while since I've read them, but it's Hardy. Once you look at the back of them, and they literally spoil all of it. And I feel like Hardy's, I always go to Hardy for his writing more than his plot because he was a better writer than he was a novelist. But I know I've said that so many times. But yeah, that is my list. We start number 14, Jude. 13, The Well-Beloved. 12 is Tess. 11's Under the Greenwood Tree. 10's A Pair of Blue Eyes. 9 is Desperate Remedies. 8 is a Laodicean. 7's The Mayor of Casterbridge. 6 is The Hand of Elberta. 5 is The Trumpet Major. 4 is Two on the Tower. 3 is The Woodlanders, 2 is Return of the Native, and 1 is Far from the Madding Crowd. And I know people have different opinions on Hardy. Some people think that Hardy is the great Victorian novelist. Some people do. He's not there for me, but I think he's an enjoyable read every now and then. Kind of like a Wilkie Collins. You can pick him up whenever and have fun. But yeah, that is my ranking of Thomas Hardy. Let me know what you thought about these, my list in the comments below. And in terms of the next author I'm going to be ranking, I think I'm going to do, it's either a toss up between George Eliot, because I've read all of Eliot, and Elizabeth Gaskell, because that's going to be fun. There is going to be some tea spilled in Elizabeth Gaskell. But yeah, thank you so much for watching BookTube, and I will see you next time.